the Revoice idea, John, you know, I haven't fleshed out this idea fully, but I sense that there's a crisis of discipleship that's ultimately has happened underneath this, where people are, because the Revoice movement itself is really claiming to be like this reclamation of church discipleship, where all these people that have this shared common experience can just come together. They've kind of been rejected by the church, and so we don't need you to tell us anything true. We already understand that homosexuality is sinful. We don't need you to tell us that anymore. We just need you to listen to us, to love us, to empathize with us, and to just allow us to work out this stuff, because you can't relate to our experience, and we just have to work it out among ourselves. And so you just need to allow us the space to do that. And so, I think you can already sense a lot of ways that can be very destructive to the overall mission and purpose of the church, but also to the unity of the church, where you're constantly claiming this victimhood status, and where the church has abused you, and concepts of spiritual abuse get thrown out there. I mean, Nate Collins has done that recently, the founder of Revoice. He claimed that the national statement was spiritual abuse, and that anyone who even signed the statement was basically, tantamount to a spiritual abuser for agreeing with a basic consensus statement on Orthodox teaching on sexuality. To sign that, you are a spiritual abuser now. And so, there's so many ways, and I think I sympathize with you and the ways that you've tried to patiently and diligently unpack so much of the social justice stuff, because it starts out and people are like, well, I don't really understand what the threat is. Isn't it good that we're more diverse now? Or isn't it good that we're able to recognize racism as a group? And hasn't that impacted some aspects of our institutions and the systems that undergird things? And so can't we talk about that? And so when you're trying to caution against things, it takes a lot of time and patience to really get people to even acknowledge what's happening there. And that's why that's why I wrote the book. That's why I've been speaking on this topic for the last couple of years. That's why I've tried to unpack some of the ideas, because I feel like there is that subtle threat that's always there for us as Christians. Because the thing is, despite what the world says, and especially despite what LGBT activists says, evangelical Christians are loving people. They want to hear people out. They want to be loving. They want to be sensitive. They don't want to rush to judgment. And they want to find ways to be sensitive and caring for other people. And so when people say that they've been hurt by the church, like, that's an appeal that hurts us. Like, we don't want you to have been hurt by the church. We know that the church isn't a perfect place, and that there's sin that still exists in us, and ways that we've perpetuated that, and ways that we haven't been sensitive and caring in the ways that we should. So it's such a rife mix for the work of Satan in his spiritual attack and warfare on the church, to really cause Christians to either just be completely silent on the issues, or begin to find little ways to accommodate the leaven of this teaching, so that maybe they can feel more comfortable with where things are headed. Because I think we all recognize the way that the world is so heavily opposed to the Christian position on this. So when you hear somebody say, well, the Revoice stuff, they're still holding to the Orthodox teaching, so that's the claim, so why can't you just recognize that they're getting it from both sides? And so because they have activists to their left that can say that they're too conservative, that then somehow they have this special middle ground where where that removes them from being able to be attacked.
Sure.
So
Well, I was looking at Galatians chapter 6, verse 1. It says, brothers, if anyone is caught in a trespass, you who are spiritual should restore him with a spirit of gentleness. Watch yourself, so that you may not be tempted. Carry one another's burdens. In this way, fulfill the law of Christ. And this is, of course, right after the fruit of the Spirit. And not just the fruit of the Spirit. I should probably say Galatians 5, verse 24, those who belong to Christ have crucified the flesh with its passion and desires. Since we live by the Spirit, let us walk in step with the Spirit. Let us not be conceited, provoking, and envying one another. And then the passage that I just read. And so I look at this and I think, well, if you want a ministry to homosexuals, people who struggle, let's say, with homosexual temptations, then I could sort of see something fitting under this umbrella where those who are spiritual, in other words, those who are mature, who don't struggle with that, who have overcome that, can help other people overcome that as well. But that's not the path that they're taking. And it seems like the path they're taking is they want all the people who struggle, at least Revoice I'm thinking of, with same-sex attraction, some who don't seem to even struggle with it, they just embrace it. But let's just give it the best charitable reading we can. Assume they all just struggle with this and want to be rid of it. Those are the people that they're bringing into a room together, and they're all equally, they have this problem in some form equally. There isn't someone who's spiritual there to restore. So the direction of the discipleship, if you will, seems to be, it's not an upward direction of like, let's climb out of this pit and then rejoice when someone has reached a level of victory. It seems to me from watching Revoice material and from reading it over the years that that's not the goal. There's not really an end goal like that here. The end goal seems to be change the church, not change the individual to match what believers should be, the ideal, but instead to change the church to accommodate this tendency to be attracted to those of the same sex in a romantic, physical, or otherwise way.
Yeah.
So that's even different than like an Alcoholics Anonymous, where, and I don't advocate for that, but at first it almost seems like it could be that, where they're identifying with their temptation, and AA does that. I'm an alcoholic. I disagree with that. That's not biblical, but AA at least is like, their attempt is like, and let's get you to where you're not drinking at all, and that and you leave eventually. You're not part of those meetings anymore. You're done with it. And you're a changed person. That's kind of the goal, at least. I don't see that with Revoice.